Welcome to reading the New Testament in original Greek with syntax analysis. In this session, we're reading Matthew chapter 2, verse 4. Και συναγαγών πάντας τους αρχιερείς και γραμματείς του λαού, επινθάνετο παρά αυτόν, ο Χριστός γεννάται. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. Calling together, we have this participle synagagon, and all the chief priests and scribes, archieres and grammatis. We're going to take a look at the declensions, the particular declensions, archierevs, grammatevs, and basilevs. Epinthaneto is the verb of the sentence, and also we have indirect questions, genate in a present aorist. If I give the tip and my recommendations to analyze the syntax and a Greek grammar structure, to find verb should be the priority, and then try to find the subject of the verb, and to find participle if there is any participle in the sentence, and then who is the subject of the participle, and the rest of them will follow to that verb and a participle. Let's take a look at the syntax. We have the compound verb sin plus ago, sin, together, ago, to bring, to lead. So with the omega ni at the end, making it a participle, synagagon, bringing together. Who is the subject from the previous verse? The King Herod. The King Herod is bringing together. And whom, of course, follows naturally the accusative object. The ago itself changes a bit drastically from the aorist, with a vocal stretch in the front alpha to eta, ago, igagon, and also in an aorist a passive, ichthin, the he. It's from the guttural, we talked about in the last session, the assimilations. Guttural, kappa, gamma, before the theta, or before the strong verb, strong vocal, change the pronunciation itself becomes weak. So to aspirata. So kappa, gamma to he, k, g, h. So ich, thin. The participle itself doesn't require augmentation. We have, that's why, instead of igagon, we have synagagon. The form ag is preserved without vocal stretch. And how do we define the on, usa, on in the present participle from the aorist participle in the second aorist? On, usa, on. The inflection is the same. The difference that we can recognize it from, which is our case, the aorist almost always contains the accent. We have synagagon, and the accent is on the on. Then we know this if this is a participle, then we have the second aorist participle. Archieres and grammatis. Arch, or high, or the top leading the position. Archieres, from the noun ierevs, priest. So archpriest or high priest. Also grammatis from the noun grammatevs. The evs, ierevs, this ending declines in a particular way. Revs, reos, ri, rea, with from the ier. So evs, eos, ea, is, eon, evsin, as. The accusative ending also has another form, is. Ieris is a nominative also, and accusative ieris. So, which is our case, archieres could be grammatically itself, a nominative or accusative. And of course, we have the definite article, dus, that makes it an obvious accusative, plural. So all the archpriest and grammatis then, of course, the scribes of the people, Epinthaneto. We have now verb pinthanome, which means to inquire, to make an inquiry, to ask questions. The word itself actually in Greek, ancient Greek, means to learn. Usually accompanies the something, to learn something, or to learn from someone. So the dative object. So tini. But in when it's in a present, like for example, present or imperfect, which is our case, imperfect means to inquire. But when it's in an aorist or a perfect, usually means the experience, learned something. When it accompanies a genitive, GCP as a genitivus cum participios, was a genitive with participle. You can translate it as an experience oneself. So the subject of the pinthanome is experienced himself. He learned himself by himself that something, the participle case. But when it accompanies an accusative with a participle, he experienced from others. When it accompanies accusative but infinitive, then he experienced as a rumor. So he learned something as a rumor. The people are talking about it. So it makes a difference actually what it accompanies. So it's a tip that you could remember. Well, it's not necessary to memorize them, but it also helps because we have the verb akouo. Akouo goes same way with the genitive. He heard himself. He's the person, he's the one who heard it. When it's with the accusative and the participle, he heard it from someone else. Someone else told him. But when it's with the infinitive, he heard it and people are talking about. He was passing by the street and he heard something. So, pinthanome and akouo with the genitive and an accusative participle and accusative infinitive makes a different sense in this sentence. So it's good to remember this. Parafton, par about, afton about him with a genitive. Now we have the indirect questions. Pour Christos, where the Christ genate is born. Technically, an English translation we have is to be born. Genau is the verb to bear, to produce, to birth, right? And the ending te, tav, alpha, iota is from the eta, and of course genau from the omega is taken away, and from the alpha plus eta from the ete, it's contracted together, then it becomes a. And that's why we have the circumflex above the alpha. It's contracted. So genate. We know then it's the indicative present, medium or passive. And of course, then again, we talked about it in contractions. Alpha plus A makes it A. So we know this is the present. But when it's used as a medium, the Christ produced himself? No. So it's a passive. It's a present passive where the Christ is born. Okay, this is today's sessions for Matthew chapter 2, verse 4. I hope you have enjoyed it. And we're going to take a look at the next session, of course, verse 5. Thanks for listening today.